In space, no one can hear you scream.
So, where we left it last week, all the characters left floating around in space. And that's resolved pretty quickly in the story to get things moving on to the next bit, a new title sequence. We have the music from last week. It's slightly different, I think, at the beginning than it is at the end, but very much the same sort of thing, sampled sounds from the original recording. And the actual graphics are very, very similar to the old 60s and 70s design. Obviously done in a new way. It's very, very different. There's no stars, no planets, no TARDIS. We've just got a vortex scene and names. So, yeah, it's okay. It's functional. It works. So the story itself, they land on a planet called Desolation, and it's they find out that this is the people that have picked them up are the last two in a race for a big prize at the end, and that's basically it, really. So they have a few encounters with different things across the planet, but it's pretty much a plot to get you from A to B to C. That's it. You've got Art Malik in there, who's the one who's going to give this grand prize. Very underused. Very often happens in Doctor Who. You get some big star in there. It just reminds me of the other Chris Chibnall episode with Stephen Burkoff. Very underused in that one. So we've got these two new characters. Very good, I thought. The part that they played, I thought they held it together very well. The story moved along at a kind of steady trot, I would think is how I would describe that. They both joint winners. Is that telling us something about, you know, competition and that, you know, everybody's a winner and that sort of thing? I don't know, but it was very, very standard, sort of very simple story, harking back to some of the sorts of stories that you used to get in William Hartnell's time. Obviously stretched over a much longer period, but a very simple sort of character-driven story where they just kind of go along for the ride, if you like. The characters this week, we again see quite a lot of Ryan, and we see his character to develop throughout the story. A bit more of Graham within that, because obviously he says, "Are you going to keep calling me Graham, or are you going to call me Grandad?" And then he says, "Yeah, okay, Graham." So that's developed a bit further, and the grief over losing Grace is explored a little bit in there. Yaz again is left behind pretty much in this story. She doesn't, you know, if she hadn't have been there, you wouldn't have noticed. So are we seeing that maybe 3 companions is a little bit too much? We'll have to see over time. I'm pretty sure she'll have her moments, but you know, whether they're going to have to do it like that and have characters take a back seat, who knows. Now let's talk about Jodie Whittaker for a minute. So I said last week it needed time for her to settle into this role, and I thought she could handle it. This week, a bit clunky, I thought, in places. I thought there are moments where you see that's the Doctor. I can see that that's the Doctor. And then other times you feel like you just need to relax a bit. You're trying a little bit too hard here. there's just moments where it just feels like it's almost physically as well, literally leaning in to this character. And if you look at the guest characters on here, very relaxed performance, and her performance just at times still seems a little bit off. Hopefully she'll settle into it. I think she's great. I think she's perfect choice to play the character. I just think she just needs to relax. It feels like all the pressures of the internet and all the discussions and everything seem to be weighing heavily down on her in her performance. The other thing is as well, the sonic screwdriver is a sonic screwdriver. It's not Harry Potter's wand. Okay, too many flourishes with the Sonic there. It just feels a little bit out of place. And then, of course, the end, we had the reveal of the new TARDIS. Now, I think that will split people on what they think about that. In my opinion, I like the design of it. At the moment, it's very dark lit in that scene that we had. Whether that will change over time, I don't know. I like the idea of having the TARDIS, the interior of the TARDIS. That's always bothered me, that you've never had the box shape of the TARDIS inside the doorway. It's literally bolted onto it. That's a good move for me. Very much a Tennant design in the kind of organic feel to it, and with the kind of pillars that arch over is very, very similar. Although this time we've gone for more crystal than a coral look. You didn't get the grand scale of it when you saw scenes in sort of Capaldi's era and that, and they showed you the full set, and you had that camera that used to be able to go right the way across the whole set. A feeling of a much bigger, grander scale TARDIS. These were tightly shot. That we're getting lots of shots of close-ups. You know, this sort of scale, and so you're not getting the full feel of the TARDIS yet. I don't think. Hopefully they'll open that up and we'll get to see a bit more of that. The bit I really do have a problem with, and I was literally sitting there banging my head every time it happened, and that is the exposition. Again, I mentioned it last week. I thought it was to kind of move the story along. We're still getting that. How you can write a line where all the characters run into a space and then they're surrounded by all these robots. How you can have a line of, oh look, there's robots. They weren't there a moment ago. We know that. We saw that. We saw it on screen that they weren't there and then they were. I don't need you to tell me where these characters are and what they're thinking and feeling all the time. Some of that should belong to the subtext. Some of that should be outside of the dialogue. The dialogue feels wrong when they talk like that. It feels so wrong. When we get to the final, the Ghost Monument, and the TARDIS isn't there, and what does the Doctor do? Gives up. But it undermines the Doctor. The Doctor would not give up that easily, especially when we know that the TARDIS is on this cycle. We don't know exactly when the TARDIS appears and disappears. She's already explained that happens. So why she should just suddenly think, well, it's not here, that's it, is not keeping in with the character of the Doctor. Anyway, so I would give this one also a 7 out of 10. The cinematic is good, the stories are okay, there's things still need to be ironed out, and we've got everything to play for. I think next week's story, the Rosa Parks story, will be the defining moment, I think, of this series so far. If you've seen it, tell me what you thought about it. Do you agree with what I've said? If you disagree, be nice, but drop something down in the comments, and we'll see you all next time.